The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
We're on the record breaking down the biggest moments from inside the courtroom of the Karen Read murder retrial. I'm your host, Cody Thomas. It's week 2, and this case just got more technical, more emotional, and a lot more personal. This week, the spotlight turned to forensics, Google searches, and key witness testimony with tensions high on both sides. If you're just now joining us, let's get you caught up on the case.
I'm declaring a mistrial in this case.
After deliberating in Dedham over 5 days, a mistrial in the case against Karen Read.
We will not stop fighting. We have no quit.
Read is the college professor accused of killing her Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe, hitting him with her SUV after a night of drinking. She claims she's being framed in a massive police cover-up and that O'Keefe was fatally beaten inside a fellow officer's home. It's a case that has divided a community.
We believe that the path for justice for John O'Keefe.
The jury of 6 men and 6 women visited the crime scene and heard testimony from 74 witnesses during the 9-week trial.
And all of a sudden, Karen said, there he is, there he is. Let me the F out of this car. And she started kicking the door.
I hit him.
She repeated, I hit him.
And then she was saying, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? And then she proceeded to say that she had a cracked taillight.
With no video or eyewitnesses, the first trial turned into a battle of the experts.
The vehicle traveled up to 24 miles per hour and approximately 62 feet.
What, if anything, occurred then?
The right rear of the Lexus struck the pedestrian, John O'Keefe.
That does not look to me at all remotely like an impact from a motor vehicle.
We found a Google search that happened. First of all, the search was how long to die in cold, and it happened at or before 2:27 a.m.
I'm of no doubt that the only time those 2 searches were conducted was at 6:23 and 6:24 on the morning of the 29th.
The defense also raised questions about the police investigation.
Had you ever used a leaf blower in a crime scene preservation effort?
First time.
Not once did you mention that this video is actually completely inverted.
I did not know.
Lead investigator Trooper Michael Proctor also came under fire.
She's a whack job. No ass.
Now, Read faces a new jury, and new special prosecutor Hank Brennan plans to introduce new evidence, including molds made of Chloe's mouth. Chloe is the German Shepherd owned by the Albert family during the night in question.
Those wounds were inflicted by a dog attack.
But they actually got rid of the dog altogether.
Do you know that Chloe exists, that we provided notice to you, that we went up and saw Chloe and took molds?
New evidence could also include new testing of the SUV's telemetric system, new video of Brian Higgins at Canton PD, and Read's prior interviews, including with ABC News.
It's snowing. John has no coat on. It's windy. So I drop him off. He goes up the driveway and approaches the side door.
The changes might signal a different defense, and possibly the defendant taking the stand.
And you also mentioned to the media that there are some things that you wish that you could clarify. Is there any?
They'll be clarified one day, Matt. They'll be clarified. It might not be live, but it will be.
On day 5, forensic analyst Ian Whiffen took the stand to analyze the movements of John O'Keefe's phone and said his phone remained near the flagpole at 34 Fairview Road, contradicting the defense's claim that O'Keefe entered Brian Albert's home. Whiffen suggested the phone's movements were likely due to it being in a vehicle rather than someone walking upstairs. Then there was witness Jennifer McCabe's controversial "How long to die in the cold" Google search at 2:27 a.m., which came under scrutiny when Whiffen said that an earlier tab left open on McCabe's phone may have affected the timestamp, suggesting the search could have occurred a little bit later. It was also noted that O'Keefe's phone locked for the last time at 12:32 a.m. just before unanswered calls from Reed came through. And the phone's battery temperature dropped significantly from 82 degrees shortly after midnight to 37 degrees when found at 6:14 a.m. Here's more from day 5.
Can you share with us when you first became aware of the data in this case and how that came about?
Yes, it was actually one of the public relations managers at Cellbrite who reached out to me or to my team because he'd heard about this case and about the confusion regarding a timestamp.
And can you share with us what was the issue? What was the question that you were actually looking into?
The question was related to a timestamp of 2:27:40 a.m. And an internet query that appeared to have occurred at that time, 2:27:40, which was the time of interest. And we see that a browser switch occurs, causing the last visited timestamp to take on the time of 2:27:40. This is the tab that was ultimately used to search Hoss Long to Die in Cold, which is the query that started all of the confusion. At this point in time, there is no navigational events recorded anywhere. All we see is that the web page that was brought into view is ozonebasketball.com/teams. This web page was last visited at 14 minutes after midnight on the 26th of January. At 2:27:42, there is a web navigation event. Whether this is loaded from a bookmark or whether it's typed in, I can't say, but a web navigation event occurs using the same tab that's just been loaded, and now the user is loading the web page hockermocksports.com/standings. A few seconds later, at 6:23:51, the blue button at the bottom of the keyboard is used to submit a search for the term "How long tid I in Kikdi?" Importantly, there is no history record made that shows that a navigation actually occurred to this website. Around 10:33:34, that tab would have been closed.
Was that the same tab, that 2:27:40 tab open for Hockermock Sports, was that the same tab that later was used for searches or attempted searches at 6:23:51 and at 6:24 relative to how long or how's long to die in cold?
I believe it was, yes.
Do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty whether or not that information was removed as a natural application of the phone, or was it because somebody took the phone and actually deleted it by hand?
So again, I don't believe it's possible, given the situation and the information that's available, that it would have been possible for the user to delete it. I believe it was more than likely a system event that caused that, but I've not been able to replicate that system event.
Did you analyze John O'Keefe's phone on the evening, early morning hours through the next morning on January 29, 2022, in an attempt to identify where he was, what he was doing, and whether his phone was inside or outside?
That was my goal, yes. 24 minutes and 36 seconds traveling at 3.2 miles an hour. At 24 minutes and 37 seconds traveling at 1.4 miles an hour. Finally, the device comes to a complete stop at 24 minutes and 38 seconds.
Before that complete stop, was the car continuously moving at some speed?
Yes, this is the first record that shows 0 miles per hour or 0 meters per second. Prior to this, there was always a record that showed some level of speed.
Did this car, or the phone that was in the car, ever stop at the driveway of that address?
No, according to the location and the speed data from the device, by the time it was approximately the driveway, the phone reports it was still traveling at around 15.9 miles an hour.
Where this car stops, or this phone stops at 12:24:33, how close is the phone to that flagpole?
I believe very close.
And do you ever see the car or the phone stop anywhere near that driveway?
No. At 31 minutes and 56 seconds until 32 minutes and 16 seconds, there were 36 steps recorded. and then there was no further health activity recorded on the device for several hours until 4 minutes after 6 a.m. When 432 steps were recorded between the time of 6:04 and 6:11. So on the evening of the 28th, see an average temperature of around mid-80 degree Fahrenheit. By 37 minutes after midnight, we now know the device is already at Fairview. It's been at Fairview for approximately 12 minutes. And the temperature has continued to drop. It's now 72 Fahrenheit.
And then you're now at 6:14 and it's 37 degrees?
Yeah, you're correct. This is the coldest temperature recorded.
Do you know what, if anything, happened to that phone at 6:15:01?
I don't know. 32 minutes and 4 seconds, the device is unlocked using Face ID. SMS application's already on screen from the previous use, and at 32 minutes and 9 seconds, the lock button is pressed by the user. My opinion is that the device never moved far away from the flagpole.
The Court TV podcast will return.
Jennifer McCabe, one of the prosecution's star witnesses, took the stand on day 6. She described searching for O'Keefe with Karen Reed and Kerry Roberts on the morning of January 29th. She claimed that as they approached the house on Fairview Road, Reed became hysterical, kicking the door and yelling, "There he is, let me out." McCabe recalled Reed asking, "Did I hit him?" and described Reed as screaming and yelling. She testified that neither Reed nor O'Keefe entered her sister's home that night, and that no fighting, no violence, and nothing out of sorts occurred in the house. Meanwhile, 2 controversial ARCA experts from the defense, Daniel Wolf and Andrew Rentschler, were cleared by the judge to testify.
As a general matter, is the Waze application more accurate than the Apple information regarding location?
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing because it's coming essentially from the same source, correct?
Yes, Apple provides that information to Waze.
You focused your testimony and your opinions on the smaller black circle, correct?
Correct.
The fair way to interpret, and this is what you put in your report, this is your depiction, is that, and based upon what you said yesterday, the phone could be at the very edge of the top of the circle, correct?
Correct.
And the phone could also be at any point, so you can, in theory, put a phone anywhere around the very edges of that entire circle, correct?
There's caveats to that, but yes.
In June of 2024, when you testified under oath, the situation with the forensic tools was Celebrite Forensics Insights did not show the 2:27:40 a.m. timestamp, but another version of Physical Analyzer did show it, correct?
Correct.
In that second program, that second tool, Physical Analyzer, not only showed it at 2:27:40 a.m., but it showed it as a deleted state, correct?
It's a deleted record, yes.
So with regard to the first proceeding, there was one Celebrite forensic tool that still showed the 2:27:40 a.m. timestamp.
Correct.
However, the competitor of Celebrite that we just talked about, Magnet Forensics Axiom,
yes,
that program at the first proceeding showed the 2:27:40 a.m. timestamp, correct?
Correct.
And as a matter of fact, as you sit here today, the Magnet Forensics program, Axiom, still shows the 2:27:04 a.m. timestamp, correct?
As far as I know, yes.
And Magnet Forensics Axiom is a reputable company, correct?
Correct.
Celebrite removed that 2:27:40 a.m. timestamp, which is in a deleted state, in response to issues raised in the first proceeding, correct?
It was changed because of the research that I did, and that was verified by the forensic research group.
But the issue arose because of what had come up in the first proceeding, correct?
In the first investigation prior to the proceeding, yes.
In the first investigation in this case, correct?
Yes.
So Celebrate, after the first proceeding, after the investigation, just outright went and removed the timestamp.
It's not unusual to change the code.
I didn't ask if it, I just asked whether they
we removed it.
Are you a detective in your present role helping aid one side or another in an investigation?
I'm not, no.
At some point, you and I spoke about reviewing phones.
We did.
You had begun your whole process in some of this work before you had met me.
Correct.
And I'd asked you to look at Mr. O'Keefe's phone.
Correct.
Did I ever tell you what you should look for?
No.
Did I ever tell you what I wanted to see or what I wanted the results to be?
No.
Did I ever share with you parts of the investigation that had nothing to do with your actual data analysis?
No.
Is that the only time that the phone moves from the point it stops at the flagpole until the next morning?
Correct.
The only time?
Correct.
12:31:56 to 12:32:16.
Yes.
At 12:32:16, when that phone stops moving, John O'Keefe's phone stops moving, do you know the next time it moves again?
It's approximately 6:15.
Less than 5 minutes later, 12:37, that battery in that cell phone gets another temperature reading. And it goes down to what degrees?
72 degrees.
And over the next 8 minutes, does that temperature even or go up?
At 43 minutes past, there was another reading of 66 Fahrenheit.
And then at 12:53, that's about, what, 21 minutes or so after that phone stops moving? What's the temperature?
61 Fahrenheit.
61 degrees?
Yes.
And over the next 14 minutes, does it drop again?
It does. It drops to 55 degrees at 1:07.
And at 1:36 a.m. that morning,
it's down to 50 degrees.
Does
Correct.
this healthcare data show that this phone hasn't moved since 12:32:16?
No more steps were recorded.
How close is your friendship with John O'Keefe at that time?
He was a very good friend of mine that I knew I could call for anything. My sister, Nicole, sent me a text and said that she was going to be at the waterfall, and it was my nephew's birthday. He was going to meet up, and did I want to come by for a drink?
When the group was together, you mentioned a number of people have joined. Were you joined by other people later?
Yes.
Who were you joined by later?
John O'Keefe and Karen Reed.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
McCabe returned for a second day of testimony on day 7, and defense attorney Alan Jackson did not hold back. He accused her of potentially coordinating her story with witness Carrie Roberts, a claim McCabe denied. Jackson then challenged McCabe's credibility, bringing up her statements to outside investigators. McCabe initially said she called just 2 people after the incident, but under cross, she admitted to 3 more calls, including one to John O'Keefe's mother, Peggy O'Keefe. She also confirmed she did not hear a collision or a cry for help outside the house. But perhaps the most incriminating moment, when asked if Karen Reed said, "I hit him" at the scene, McCabe testified, quote, "I was there the morning of January 29th when your client said, 'I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.'"
Before the chest compressions, did you make a phone call?
I called 911. I was in shock. My heart was racing. I was trying to be as helpful as I could and get the information to the most important information out as quick as I could to the 911 operators. But also the scene there with Karen and Kerry was a bit chaotic between the two of them. So I was just trying my best to be as calm as I could, to get help there as fast as I could, and to answer their questions the best that I could.
Before you told the 911 operator John O'Keefe's name and his age, you said there's a man in the snow. Do you know why you chose those words?
I think I just wanted to get out the most specific details. So a man in the snow versus, John O'Keefe and into a story.
He was bleeding from the face area. Was that before or after he was moved?
After.
Any point during the time when you tried to help Mr. O'Keefe and the first police officer arrived, at any point did you see any signs of life from Mr. O'Keefe?
No. The police officer, not sure specific, I do remember him asking about John. I think he said, is he a drug user? He was just asking some basic questions.
And what's the environment? What's going on around you?
Karen's just running around crazy, like just yelling, screaming, kind of like a ping pong. One of the officers thought it would be best if maybe she went and just sat in one of the cruisers for a little bit, because she was just doing a lot of screaming and yelling, and I think they were just trying to, get, work on John and make the scene a little less chaotic. She started yelling and pulling on me to Google hypothermia and Google how long it takes for somebody, to die in the cold.
Was this the first time that morning after the defendant asked you to search that you searched that phrase?
Yes, it was.
Did you hear or do you remember the defendant saying anything to the first responder?
Yes.
What did she say?
She told the first responder, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
When she told the first responder, I hit him, how did you react?
I was startled, kind of like, what are you saying? What are you talking about?
Did you say anything to the defendant?
I think after the second or third time she was saying it, I was like, Karen, like, what are you saying? I was extremely concerned. I was calling Kerry, trying to get updates. I think deep down I knew that John was gone, but there's, until you hear it, I think there was that little bit of hope maybe.
Did you speak to her again later that day?
No, I think I texted her asking her for Kerry's number because I didn't have it.
Did you hear back?
No.
Did you ever speak to Miss Reed again?
No, I've never spoken to her again.
Neither one of you, your good friend Carrie Roberts and you, have ever discussed either of your testimonies between that time and this time.
No, we've discussed the case and we've discussed what happened that moment, the moments of the morning, but we have not discussed testimony.
As you said, that's your story, correct?
Not my story. It's
Those
the
were
truth.
yours. Did you practice your testimony with any member of the DA's office?
No.
How long in total would you say all of those meetings were?
I really can't give you an estimate. I think the first one was fairly quick. The second one, one of them was a little bit longer, maybe a couple hours.
You were contacted by another law enforcement agency that was not Massachusetts State Police and not Canton Police Department at one point in April of 2023. Do you remember that?
Yes.
You were contacted at your residence by these members of this law enforcement agency, correct?
Yes.
All right. During the course of that interview, those officers informed you very specifically, Ms. McCabe, that it is a crime to lie to them, even during an interview, correct?
Yes.
One of the first calls you made after being contacted by these other law enforcement officers from a different agency, one of the first calls you made was to Carrie Roberts. Is that right?
She was the first one.
That's what I'm asking. One of the first two calls you made, your husband,
right,
and
yes.
Carrie Roberts.
Okay. Yes.
Your motive in calling Carrie Roberts at that moment before your interview was to ensure that your story would line up with her story, Ms. McCabe. Isn't that right?
No, that is not.
You wanted to find out if she had talked to these particular law enforcement officers and what she had told them so that your story could somehow align or it could inform how you responded to questions that they asked you. Isn't that true?
That's not true. We both know what happened. We don't have to have a story. There is no story. There's what happened, and that's it.
McCabe returned for her third day of testimony on day 8 of the retrial. Jackson scrutinized her evolving statements and phone calls and texts. She adamantly defended herself and any of her actions. Meanwhile, forensic scientist Hannah Knowles testified that retrograde analysis estimated Reed's blood alcohol content was between 0.14% and 0.28% around 12:45 a.m., well over Massachusetts' legal limit of 0.08%.
You're aware that your phone records actually show that at 5:07, you called to 34 Fairview Nicole Albert's phone, correct?
Correct.
You actually spoke to your sister, Nicole, that morning?
I did not speak to my sister, no.
So that 38-second call went to voicemail?
I'm not sure. All I can tell you is I never spoke to my sister, Nicole, that morning. There's nothing nefarious. I remembered who I called. I didn't go back and look at phone records.
I didn't say it was nefarious. Why would you use the word nefarious?
Because there's nothing about me calling my sister that is nefarious, and I feel like you're insinuating it might be, and it's not.
You've indicated on direct examination and earlier on cross-examination that you had multiple phone calls to Mr. O'Keefe in the early morning hours of January 29th, 2022, correct?
Correct.
Ms. McCabe, there's 7 calls. What's your explanation?
I think I was going back and forth to the door. I was texting him. I think I put my phone in my pocket. I think I inadvertently maybe have called him.
What did you call it at the last hearing?
I believe I called it a butt dial.
And it's not just one butt dial, correct?
There could be multiple, yes.
7 butt dials in the course of 19 minutes. And we only know about these calls because you're looking at an extraction of John O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct, but I also turned over my phone, so you could have gotten all of that off of my phone as well.
And you're well aware that an extraction was done on your phone and not one of those butt dials appears on your phone extraction, correct? Objection.
Are you aware of that? I am not aware of that.
You Google searched the phrase, hustling to die in cold. Yes or no?
Yes.
On January 29th, correct?
Yes.
You agree that there was a search done at 2:27 a.m., correct?
I don't recall doing a search at 2:27. The paper says it. I don't.
Do you deny that you deleted a Google search off your phone?
I never deleted a Google search off my phone.
So you
never did that. I deny it, yes.
That you ever deleted a Google search?
Yes. I never made the search.
So you have a situation where a man is laying dead or dying in the front yard of your sister's house. You see nothing in terms of life inside the house. Lights aren't coming on. They're not getting up. They're certainly not coming outside. Did you think your sister might have been in peril? Did you think to go inside the house and check that they're okay?
I had no reason to think that they weren't okay.
You had no reason to believe they weren't okay. A man was dead or dying on their lawn, and your sister's not answering the phone. And nobody is coming out to the chaos of Karen Reed screaming on the front lawn. You didn't think there was some reason to believe they could have been in peril?
I didn't, because your client was screaming she hit him. She had a cracked taillight. She was crying she hit him. I didn't, but my focus... Can I finish, please?
You had solved the crime right then and there. You solved the whole case.
No, I didn't. I knew John never came in the house, so I had no concern for anyone's safety inside the house.
The reason you didn't go inside the house is because you knew better. You knew better. You knew she wasn't in peril. You knew that Brian Albert wasn't in peril. You weren't worried at all about them, were you?
I was not worried at all because something happened on the front lawn that had nothing to do with anything inside that house.
You weren't worried about them at all because you knew what really happened.
At that moment, I didn't know that he was hit by a vehicle and there was taillight found next to him.
And that wraps week 2 of testimony, where we saw science challenged, memory tested, and a defense that's raising serious questions about timelines, tech, and testimony. Coming up next week, we should hear more from the crash experts, possible rebuttals to cell phone evidence, and Jennifer McCabe returns to the stand. Stay with us as we continue to bring you the biggest moments in the Karen Read murder retrial. I'm Cody Thomas, and as always, thanks for listening. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you next time we go back on the record.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.